Hello. So, it's been a while since I did any actual vlogging. I've just kind of got a lot of super badly unedited videos about the places that I've been recently. So I figured I'd do a video since I've got some extra time on my hands and I'm living at an uninhabited lighthouse island called Race Rocks. Yeah, I got a lot of spare time, so I figured might as well post a video on YouTube that probably no one will watch. Yeah, so the topic of my video is travel and advice that I may have for people thinking about traveling or who want to travel more. So the first big thing is, why do you want to travel? Do you want to go away and just relax? Did you want to just party and get drunk the whole time, lay on the beach, go swimming? So you really have to think about what it is you want to get out of your travel experience. If you're just going on a short vacation, that's maybe something else. I don't really do that, so maybe this is not the right advice video for you. Usually when I travel, I go months or years at a time, and I really like to live in a place to find out about the culture and the local communities. So a lot of people ask me, how do I afford to travel so much? They're pretty baffled by the whole thing. But the funny part of that question is that I don't actually spend a lot of money. When I travel, my main expense is generally transport, and especially recently as I've been doing a lot of work exchanges. So if you have ever heard of these things like Workaway or HelpX or woofing or any of those, that's a really great way if you want to do a longer trip and to sort of settle in one place, not have to pay rent. Sometimes your food is included, and so it really helps with the day-to-day costs of living abroad. So if you are looking for sort of a longer trip where you do get to meet some of the local people and get involved in the community and experience life more or less as a local person would wherever you're going, I would really recommend these types of things. It's been a great experience for me, and it really allows you to go for longer on very little money. So check that out. That's my first bit of advice. Another bit of financial advice is that you need to budget. You need to, when you are getting paid work before you leave or while you're somewhere, know how much you're spending, know how much you're making, make sure that you're making more than what you're spending ideally. And that way you can afford to do things. Also good life advice. You should probably know what your monthly budget is and what you spend in a week and try to stick to it. It seems pretty straightforward, but a lot of people aren't able to do that. So whatever helps, write it down, get an Excel spreadsheet, go through your bank statements or your credit card statements or however you spend your money. Really look at what you're spending your money on. Maybe reprioritize, cut out some unnecessary luxuries. I know a lot of people do things they think are necessary. Maybe you go to the salon, maybe you shop a lot, you buy clothes, you do online shopping, maybe you buy really expensive electronics that you never use, maybe you have a car that you can't afford, maybe you drive everywhere, you have a lot of fuel expenses because you are driving everywhere when maybe you don't need to, maybe you do need to, maybe you live in a rural place and that's the only way to get around. But these are the kind of things that you really need to keep track of, and that's a good way to make sure that you're on budget. Another thing is, while you are on a trip, you don't need to do everything that's in the guidebook. You don't need to go to every museum, every restaurant, every temple, every amusement park or whatever. You really prioritize the things that you want to do that cost money. And if there's something that you're not super interested in but is popular in the area, you don't need to do it. You don't need to spend the money on something that just because everyone else is supposedly doing that. I've been to a lot of places and people are like, oh, you haven't done this tour and you haven't gone to this park or you haven't gone to this restaurant and whatever. And it's like, yeah, I mean, if I went to every single thing in every single town in every single country, I wouldn't be able to afford it. That's insane. So really think about that, and that will help you stay on your budget. Also, just know that this kind of travel is not for everyone. If you want to just get drunk and hang out with all the foreigners and not meet any local people or experience the culture, that's totally fine. Then that's what you should do. It will probably cost more money and, in my opinion, is not really worth it, but that's one of the reasons why I'm able to afford the way that I travel, because I don't do that. Another good thing to think about is just, if you do want to travel on a budget, you have to be prepared to sacrifice. You can't expect to have everything the way that you're used to back home. You might, if you're staying in a hostel or taking the cheaper buses instead of flying or driving or whatever, or getting taxis, it's going to be less luxurious, I guess. Like, you just have to be aware that you're going to have to sacrifice some conveniences and some comforts. Maybe you won't sleep as well if you're at a hostel with 12 other people in the room. That's just how it goes. But it's going to be a small fraction of the price versus if you were staying at like a hotel. So these are things to think about. And the best way to start is just to pick a date and a place. If you only have a few weeks off of work, it's a bit harder, right? Because especially if it's a regular vacation time, like you're taking Christmas off or something like that, everything's going to be more expensive because that's when everyone wants to go. So I would recommend, if you are going for shorter periods because of work schedules or whatever, try to pick a time that's not peak season. There'll be less people around. You'll be able to enjoy the sights better. It'll be cheaper, but the only other thing, maybe the weather isn't as good. Maybe some things are closed. So you have to research a little bit. My last piece of advice, if you can get your things together there and actually get a trip going, try to enjoy the moment. Don't overthink it, and don't get frustrated when things don't go the way you want, because it's never going to be perfect. There's going to be hiccups, there's going to be delays. Maybe you'll get ripped off. Maybe someone will try to rob you. You never know. Try to be safe, but these things happen. You have to be prepared for this. Try to stay safe. Try to do the best you can. And if you're really afraid, I don't know. That's up to you. Are you going to challenge yourself and go outside of your comfort zone? Or are you going to push through that and realize that some of these challenges are worth it in the end because of the experience that you will get? So that's something to think about. Just really be grateful for the time that you have while you are where you are, even if you're at home. I've just been away for a few years, and I'm just getting back and reconnecting with some friends and family, and I'm really trying to be grateful for that and appreciate the time that I have here as I'm leaving again soon. And so that's just what I try to do every day. Really remind myself of how lucky I really am, just try to enjoy life, I guess. Yeah. I'll try to put some links in for HelpX and woofing and that kind of thing. And I'd really recommend you look at those sites. There's also sort of house sitting that you can do, house and pet sitting, stuff like this. Anything that you can do to get free accommodation if you're going on a longer trip, that is super helpful to stay on budget. So I would recommend looking into that. Anyways, peace.